Hello, my name is Jackson. I'm a master's student at the University of Lethbridge studying neuroscience, focusing on beluga whale play behavior. And today I'm going to be speaking about how they make play difficult, how they self-handicap when they engage in object play. But first, what is self-handicapping? Self-handicapping occurs during play and is done so to make play difficult. In other words, these animals are putting themselves at a disadvantage during a play bout. For example, a deer kicking its legs up while engaging in running, a form of locomotor play, to throw itself off balance and then having to recover. But perhaps the best studied form of self-handicapping occurs in rats during social play, as pictured here. Normally, in rat play, rats compete for access to the nape of the neck. But one way that rats block their partner from reaching the nape is by rolling onto their back, as drawn here. This then results in a pin. But to encourage role reversals, the animal pinning the other will step onto the rat with all four legs. All the bottom rat now has to do is wiggle and the top rat falls off. And this sort of back and forth game will go on for a while. But importantly, the rat pinning the other rat gives up their advantage by self-handicapping themselves by putting all four paws on the pinned rat to allow the partner to escape that pin. And while self-handicapping is important to make sure play stays fun, it has also been suggested that by self-handicapping, you're exposing yourself to unexpected situations. You allow yourself to lose control. And developmentally speaking, this would allow you to train your brain to be more resilient, something that has been shown empirically in primates and in rodents. Much of our limited understanding of self-handicapping comes from handicapping that occurs during social play, like the rats. But other animals, such as primate species, and specifically bonobos as pictured here, will use objects to self-handicap. Primates will cover their eyes when engaging in rough and tumble play, putting themselves at a disadvantage and making the play more difficult. Likewise, when leaping from branch to branch in locomotor play, some primates will handicap themselves by holding onto objects. Though these examples describe animals using objects to self-handicap other play, like social play, this is not self-handicapping of object play. The important distinction is that they are employing objects to make other play difficult, but not to make object-specific play difficult. Up until now, self-handicapping has not been described for object play, which already is a rarely studied form of play. But extending self-handicapping beyond the social domain would lay the foundation for comparative studies to determine if species limiting their play to non-social forms, including that directed at objects, can be co-opted to facilitate the development of resiliency. And to investigate this, we looked at beluga whales. Belugas are an Arctic-dwelling toothed whale. They live in groups of around 10 individuals, but congregate in the summer in the thousands. In both the wild and in managed care settings, belugas have been described to engage in social play, locomotor play, and object play, although much of their play is still poorly understood. To describe object play in more detail, I created an object play ethogram for belugas, and while doing so, I noticed something unusual. They were self-handicapping when playing with objects. So to describe their self-handicapping further, I studied a group of animals housed at SeaWorld of Texas. These 19 belugas, which consisted of 9 juveniles and 10 adults, were documented from 2007 to 2019. I selected 142 videos from that video archive, which represented around 38 hours of observations. And how do belugas self-handicap when engaging in object play? Well, most commonly, objects are pushed out onto a shallow ledge where they then have to beach themselves to reach the object. So they go from pushing an object around or carrying an object to purposely placing it on a ledge, then having to beach themselves to get at it. And this is done around 85% of the time out of all the self-handicapping bouts, and is done with feathers, feces, and human-made objects. Animals were also observed passing objects to themselves between pools. So here you can see a beluga pushing a buoy ball up and out of the pool. The buoy ball then rolled across to the other pool, to an adjacent pool, where the beluga then had to swim around and retrieve it. This sort of game occurred multiple times within a session where the animal would keep passing the object to itself from pool to pool. And although rare, in some cases, belugas would drape towels or rags on their flukes, another human-made object, while engaging in another form of object play, like pushing an object forward. So in this sense, they are self-handicapping their ability to swim while still engaging in object play. And how often do belugas self-handicap? Well, it turns out it's very rare. Out of the over 3,900 bouts of object play observed, only 99 of them included self-handicapping behaviors. However, other forms of self-handicapping during object play may be occurring, and we just haven't recognized it yet. And who is engaging in self-handicapping? Well, not unexpected, as most object play is done by immature belugas. So too was self-handicapping, with around 85% of bouts being initiated by immature individuals. 65% of self-handicapping bouts were initiated by males, though all 9 immature animals observed in this study engaged in object play self-handicapping. Immature animals may be engaging in this behavior more because they're using these self-handicapping events to train their brain for the unexpected, similar to what has been described for social play self-handicapping. The rarity of this behavior may be explained by the fact that much of their play is social in nature, and to practice for the unexpected, they might self-handicap more frequently in social play rather than object play. Belugas, a cognitively inclined animal, self-handicap in object play, and it's likely other animals do as well. By investigating other animals, we can understand if in non-social species, or those animals that are just highly playful, like belugas, if object play self-handicapping promotes the same benefits as social play self-handicapping. While this seems to be the first description of self-handicapping during object play, we suspect other species engage in such behavior, and this should be studied. Of particular interest would be to investigate if solitary animals that don't get social play opportunities engage in self-handicapping during object play more than social animals, especially if they're trying to compensate for the training social play self-handicapping affords. Thank you all for listening, and I'd also like to thank the research assistants in SeaWorld of Texas for their help on this project. If you have any further questions, please direct them to my email listed on this slide. Thank you.